I believe that every human has passion inside and has drive and has purpose and has meaning. It just sometimes gets covered up by shadow, or it gets covered up by, different things, different patterns, different thought patterns, different cognitive blocks, or other people or situations in that person's life. But it's all there. The essence of the human is there. So I believe that by doing what I'm passionate about and by being authentic and expressing myself and showing up in the world the way that I want to show up, life is so much more meaningful and enjoyable.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to Weiss Advice. I am your host, Yona Weiss, and today with me, I am very privileged to have an old friend, a rekindled friendship, Dan Lewkowicz. Great to have you on the show today. How you doing, Dan?
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Yona. I'm doing wonderful. I really appreciate it. It's not quite face-to-face. I mean, maybe in today's world, this is as face-to-face as we get, but man, it's good to see your smiling face, man.
Awesome.
We've known each other a long time.
It's been a long time. It has. And I appreciate the fact that, we kind of reconnected through real estate a few years back. So that's pretty incredible when real estate brings people together. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit in the episode. But just to give everyone a little bit of a context, I'd like to give a little introduction so people know who you are. Dan is based in Michigan. He is currently very passionate about commercial real estate. He's a broker and has been in the space for a few years. Before that, he was doing Amazon. So I'd love to get into a little bit, working for Amazon. Amazon is obviously like the biggest company in the world right now. And so you have some insider information of what that was like working on the inside. And just love to hear a little more about your story and what your current focus is and what you see going forward in the current environment.
Sure. Great questions. Well, again, thanks for having me. It's so good to connect with you. Not only is it great to connect through real estate, but I have to say that you changed my life with LinkedIn. We've had a lot of calls over the last few years about LinkedIn, and I know that's how you run a lot of your business. And I obviously, as everyone knows who's part of these groups, that's how you're famous. You're LinkedIn famous. And I appreciate the push. I appreciate these contests. It's been life and business changing. So first of all, thank you, Yona.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Really, I enjoy it. I love the power of LinkedIn, as you know, and as probably a lot of people listening to this know, that it's just such an incredible platform, and it's so underutilized because when people think social media, even if they're involved in social media, they have accounts, they don't realize the power, the business power that it has. And I've followed leads of people like Gary Vaynerchuk and others who are media experts, really. And I just follow what they're doing. And Gary Vee, I actually just heard him say recently, like every business, every person really, but every business is really a media company first. Yeah. And then you sell whatever you do, right? You're a media company and you sell commercial real estate, right? 100%. You're a media company and you sell wine or whatever it is, cost segregation, because you can use social media, especially the organic reach of it, to do incredible things for your business.
100%. And on that note, I say to people, and it's kind of a great conversation starter, my humble opinion in today's world, followers are more important than dollars. Because if you could have 20 million followers or 100 million followers, you could literally do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want, and probably get paid to do it. So it's a fascinating time that we're living in.
It's interesting. I mean, there's a big debate. I'd like to just pick that point a little bit because followers, I mean, there is definitely, I agree with you, there is a power and a value in followers, but there's also a lot of fake followers.
For sure. And that's not what we're talking about at all. Not at all. Right. I agree with you. You and I are on the same page with that. We're talking followers that are organic. We're talking real engagement that provides value. For me, that's number one, provide value. If you're providing value, everything else. If you provide value, followers will follow. If you have followers, dollars will follow. It all starts with value. So, back to your question you asked previously in terms of giving you a little bit of a background. I was a business development exec for Amazon. We had an office here in Detroit. Actually, it was back in the interesting times when Amazon was kind of going from the Seattle-centric company in the U.S. and really branching off. Detroit was actually the first B2B Amazon presence in terms of a physical office space outside of Seattle. And we had a brand new team. I was like literally, I think a team of 14 or 15 of us, and I was probably number 7. We were all hired together, and a great place to work. I learned so much. The Amazon leadership principles, again, just like you and LinkedIn, they changed my life and they changed my business. What I did there was primarily I was working with Amazon's business facing marketplace. So everyone, we're familiar with Amazon. We buy everything from our toothbrushes to maybe even our yarmulkes to our shirts and our toys and our gifts and our food, everything on Amazon as consumers. So what people don't realize is that Amazon is a marketplace. The vast majority of the products that you and I are purchasing from there are actually what's called 3P. They're third-party products. So they're purchased from a third-party individual who's typically selling their product, not even out of their own home, but out of an Amazon FC, out of an Amazon fulfillment center. So all that fulfillment by Amazon, the majority of it is third-party sellers. So what I did was I was part of this business-to-business team, which would essentially pitch to businesses to say, hey, business, I'm Dan Lewkowicz from Amazon. I'm sure you've heard of Amazon. And easiest cold call I've ever made in my life, by the way. And what I want you to do is I want to give you exposure. There's 400 million offerings on Amazon, which is what they're worth then. There's probably 600 or 700 million now. I want you to have your product on Amazon so that not only do you have consumer reach, but you have reach to our business marketplace. And at the same time, I had parallel teams that were in the education space and in the healthcare space and in the government space that were pitching to institutions, universities, hospitals, government organizations, big companies saying, hey, company, why do you have 100 people at your university or company who are buying from their personal Amazon account on Amazon for all our supplies? We're going to get you into a whole system of procurement that's set up specifically for your university. So it was pretty cool, and it was pretty dynamic, and it was exciting, and I learned a lot. I met some great people, many of whom I still keep in touch with, and definitely a life-changing experience. And now that I'm in commercial real estate, I one of my specialties is industrial and industrial fulfillment centers. I also obviously am involved in quick service restaurant. I try to hang there a little bit, like way below the Wolf Pack and Barry Wolf. But I try to hang with those guys, engage with them on social media, and do a lot of automotive. I sell tire products, Tire Kingdoms. And recently I made a pivot away from multi-tenant, strip centers and shopping centers, which I was selling, and into medical office buildings. So I made that pivot, thank God, right before, it was happening as Corona was breaking. And thank God I made that pivot. And now my business is what we call essential retailers and medical office primarily.
Interesting. So let me just pick on a couple of those things before we get into the industrial and the medical office, because those are incredible spaces right now, given the current environment. From an Amazon perspective, and obviously they've taken, and I don't know if you can even speak to this point, but I'm just kind of curious. Okay, so I'm going to move on to that question.
No.
Just a quick question regarding they're looked at as buying up commercial real estate as well, because they're buying or they're leasing at least. Maybe I'll change that. Actually, we have one of them. They're developing and leasing. So we have a big client of ours who, owns a couple of, for conservation, owns a couple Amazon fulfillment centers. Okay. And like 100,
Talk about a referral, man. Talk about a good referral.
Yeah. So million square feet. So he's a ground up developer actually. So what he does, he develops pre-leased, to Amazon, to Pepsi, to, all these huge corporations that need a 500,000 square foot, million square foot fulfillment center, and is developing it to, exactly, to their needs. But one of the things that is interesting about that is that these are very market specific
assets.
Commodities. Okay. Yeah. In every market in the country, you're going to have tire stores, you're going to have medical office buildings, but these fulfillment centers are, very specifically, strategically located around the country, which makes it much more difficult to find, really. 100%. So my question to you is, from the commercial, you're looking for sellers, right? You're looking for
primarily
sellers. You're looking for, how do you go about finding, right, those sellers in these markets that may be out of your specific market?
Oh, so good question. So first of all, to clarify for everyone, I'm a net lease investment sales broker, and I have a national platform. So I actually sell in 43 states. So even though I'm located, I guess on the beach in Michigan, working from home, I still sell in 43 different states, and in the other 7 states, we can partner with a broker of record. So the answer to your question, number one, is that in my industry, one of the amazing things is that I don't meet, this part's not amazing, but I don't meet my sellers because I would love to meet them. I don't meet my buyers. I don't go to my buildings in 95% of the cases. I don't go to my closings, and I don't have walkthroughs or showings or meet the inspectors or any of that stuff. So that enables me to do everything from a phone or a computer, right? Even as simple as getting aerials for, I'm not going to give out too much information unless somebody wants to talk to me offline, but for a certain amount of money, you know, in 2 days, I can get professional aerial photographs or videography of any site within the country, so long as it's, you know, within certain, not close to FAA airspace regulations, which I've actually been running into issues on certain Burger Kings that I'm listing, and also, believe it or not, on FedExes and fulfillment centers, because they are often right next to airports. And that's okay. We can fly the drone a little lower. We can have ground photos, et cetera, et cetera. So the first part, Yona, is that we work nationally. So no different for me to find a guy who's got, you know, some space by a Miami-Dade airport that's being developed than it is to find a shopping center at 5 miles from my house. Now,
so that's amazing. That is amazing.
It is, and you could be doing it from Israel.
Anywhere. Anyone can do it from
in
anywhere.
The world. 100. You know, I have a virtual assistant, and she's probably 30 minutes away from you. I just got off the phone with her. She lives in Israel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you can be anywhere in the world, and you can really do, you know, obviously you have to have your broker's license locally, but.
Well, let me correct you there. You don't need your broker's license. I am technically not a broker. I have my not yet. I have my real estate salesperson's license, which means for all you residential agents listening here, this should blow your mind and should cause you to give me a call so we can talk, okay? If you have a residential agent's license, a salesperson's license, or if you want to get one, the licensure and the test is exactly the same to become a residential agent as it is to become a commercial agent. Now, in our world, the jargon just happens to be that someone like me, who is really an agent at a commercial brokerage, is called a broker. I can go ahead and get my broker's license and then be my own broker, but considered a broker, my license is under a brokerage that is run by a broker. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah, it does. I guess it's just terminology.
It is.
Thank you for clarifying the terminology.
That's my point. Is it's so easy. The barrier of entry to be a commercial real estate broker / salesperson, it's like so low, and there's so much. It's so much fun and so much opportunity.
So, what was it for you that pushed you to go into the commercial real estate space?
Good question. So I had been flipping houses for a long time. That's actually how you and I reconnected. If you remember, a good friend of ours, Mordechai Darwish, he made the connection. He said, hey, Yona is in lending now. Get in touch with him. I talked to Yona. Yona was lending. I was flipping. You and I talked a few times. Didn't do a deal. Totally fine. What I ended up doing was I moved my whole company. Post-recession, we were seeing the values in the residential market at the bottom, right? Which as a flipper is like a dream come true, right? So I got all this distressed product that I could pick up from the banks or from, you know, from sheriff sales and tax auctions and cash for keys, et cetera, et cetera. And as time went on, that dried up. So I'm going to share a little secret here because I'm not really in the business anymore. This is a nugget, man. This is a bomb, all right? I can tell you for a fact, and I've gotten this information from major banks around the country, and I've seen it with my own eyes. And I may regret saying this, but I believe in abundance mentality. I believe in sharing. The city of Detroit, Michigan is approximately 7 years behind the rest of the country in the foreclosure crisis. So when I found that out through my research and my connections, I moved my entire business from the suburbs where inventory was drying up and prices were going way up, and we turned everything around, and the company was changed from Oakland Real Estate Ventures to Renaissance Real Estate Ventures. Okay, and we worked on the Renaissance of Detroit. We had a lot of fun. It was super crazy. I saw things I never want to see again. I've got stories that we could, you know, keep you busy and either rolling on the floor or crying for the rest of this podcast. I'm not going to do, or write a book, right?
Yeah.
However, my point is that towards the end of that, while I was doing that, I left Amazon. I was approached by this brokerage that I'm at, and they really aggressively, you know, they said, you're a top guy at Amazon. We want you in the brokerage world. You'll be able to do way more. And I liked that. So I was getting interested in getting involved, but I couldn't get that itch out. That itch of flipping, and it's hard, man. I walk by a house and I'm like, oh gosh, how do I not buy this and flip it? I can't even explain it. It's honestly, it's almost like borderline addiction. So I said, guys, you know, I love you. I'll come once a week, but I got this opportunity. I'm moving my company to the city and we're doing great, blah, blah, blah. Flipped and flipped and flipped and flipped, had a lot of fun. You and I interacted a lot. You hooked me up with a lot of Detroit investors, had a lot of fun with them. And eventually I said, I think the real turning point is I got my first listing in commercial real estate, and it was a 4-building portfolio in Grand Rapids. I listed it for $7.67 million. And the owner owned an insane amount of additional real estate. We became friendly, and I just was like scratching my head saying, dirty hands, boots on the ground, running crews, investing money, buying trucks, flipping houses, dealing with the police, break-ins, theft, this, that, city inspections, or sitting in an office anywhere I want and finding a client who has a $7 million listing that he's giving to this brand new guy and then selling it. That was just like eye-opening. And I said, you know what? Time is money, and I firmly believe that you invest your time and your money in the places with the greatest return on investment. So if my time is the most valuable commodity I have, I'm going to put it into the place that's going to provide me the biggest ROI on my time. And for me, hands down, that's commercial brokerage, and that's why to this day, despite my flipping addiction, it's in remission. Okay, I'm only a broker.
Okay. Well, it's good. And what about the investing side? I mean, have you considered, owning your own commercial real estate
everything.
as well?
I sold everything. I got out. I said, this market is so hot, even in Detroit. I mean, I can give you examples. I'm not going to enumerate addresses or prices here, which is not a good idea. But I got out. I had rental properties, and I got out of everything. Because I know I'm going to be able to buy it back for 70, 60, 55 cents on the dollar soon. Now, commercial real estate, that's a different story. What I'm doing now, Yona, is I take my commission check and I invest in the REITs that I sell to. So I sold a property 2 weeks ago to a local REIT here. I sold a Tire Kingdom in Miami to them. I turned around and bought stock in their company. Sumitomo Corporations of the Americas is the parent to the guarantor of Tire Kingdoms and Big O Tires and NTB, which is TBC. So buying stock in their company. So that's what I'm doing right now. I do have aspirations in the future to own buildings, no question. And if I need cost seg work, I'm going to look on LinkedIn and see if I can find somebody.
I have a good referral for you if you're ever looking for something like that.
You refer me the fulfillment center guy from Amazon, and I'll send you a referral for my building.
That's actually we'll do that.
Good deal, right?
We'll make it happen.
Yeah,
win-win.
You got it.
Absolutely. So let me kind of shift gears here a little bit.
Okay.
Before we get into the final four, I want to shift gears. Just ask you something. What drives you? Like, what is it that really, obviously you talked about time is money. You talked about, and everyone believes that. I mean, it's just true. It's a true fact. But
yeah,
you're doing what you're doing, and you're inspired. You have aspirations to do even greater in the stage, and you're putting all of your resources into it. Investing time, investing your money, investing your resources.
Yeah.
What's the drive behind all of it?
Honestly, it's such a good question. I love that you hone right into like what's behind it. So the answer is it's this. It's just the experience. I mean, I believe that every human has passion inside and has drive and has purpose and has meaning. It just sometimes gets covered up by shadow, or it gets covered up by, different things, different patterns, different thought patterns, different cognitive blocks, or other people or situations in that person's life. But it's all there. The essence of the human is there. So I believe that by doing what I'm passionate about and by being authentic and expressing myself and showing up in the world the way that I want to show up, life is so much more meaningful and enjoyable. And this is one of the things that by doing it, I feel that way. So that's what drives me, is like, I can sit here and, talk and learning with you about real estate, and I love it, right? I can do a deal. I can be up at 11 o'clock at night working on a contract, and I love it because I'm able to exude my true self.
Interesting. That's and that's, everyone has that inside of them, like you're saying, that passion that's driving them. So what about, the current situation? We talked a little bit about the current situation, right? Things changing for the better. I mean, obviously the country, the world is in a pandemic state. Things have been shut down. The economy's been shut down. Millions of people losing their jobs. Like, where do you see the commercial real estate space going, especially what you're doing within this?
Great question. So I personally, my humble opinion is, and I'm a nobody, I think that I'm not a nobody. I'm just a regular guy. My humble opinion is that this is the most exciting time to be a commercial real estate broker. And I say that because there is an insane shift that had been going on in many different ways in the commercial real estate world, whether it's in quick service restaurant and the shift to a smaller format store, whether it's in restaurant in general and the shift to drive-through, whether it's in industrial getting hotter and then fulfillment centers getting hotter, and then last mile storage getting hotter and cold storage for grocery getting hotter, or whether it's in medical office, or whether it's in, repurposing offices or repurposing JCPenney's, or all those different factors coalescing together. That was all in the works pre-pandemic. Everything was there before, right? It was going quick, like so quick. I remember sitting there with one of my broker colleagues at Fortis saying, man, he's like a lot younger than me, and he's doing amazing. His name's Chris. And I just remember sitting there and saying, like, I don't know what to hold on to, man. Everything's changing so quickly. And we both love industrial. This was maybe a year and a half ago. And I told him, like, I can't keep up with this. I can't keep up with the technology. We're going to be getting packages via drones soon. We're going to have autonomous highways. We have them. Michigan already is building the first autonomous highway in the country. We're having delivery that's going to be, instead of 2-day prime, it's going to be 2-hour prime, right? So that's where we were. And now where we are is all of a sudden somebody pressed a button, something happened. I don't know what it was. And it was like, all I can make it akin to is like, I've been in a Toyota Supra before. If anybody's ever seen like Fast and the Furious, the guy hits the juice and hits the nitrous, and you go from like seeing everything whiz by to like hyperdrive. And that's where we're at right now. So all those shifts are happening just at a faster rate of change. The acceleration is faster. So I think that it's exciting because if you can pivot and if you can be well-trained and educated and good at a specific type of asset, and then you can switch quickly, you can just do incredibly well. So for specifically the commercial real estate world, I think this is an exciting time. From my perspective, I think I have an opportunity to help the country because I can recruit more brokers. I can build something. I can build an empire. I can help people make money, but I can also help owners of property sell their property for top dollar. And I can help institutions who are the real drivers of the economy buy lots of property. Okay. So that all being said, that's something I can contribute to the US economy, maybe the world economy. And in terms of what's going on with the pandemic in general, this is an opportunity for people to come together. I know we have to social distance and all that stuff, but if we've learned anything from LinkedIn and Zoom and all that, it's that we can be 7 hours apart, halfway across the globe, collaborating, right? We can be working together, we can be building and growing. And I hope that everyone realizes that a lesson from this whole situation is that there's an abundance out there. And abundance is not like, oh, we found abundance. Abundance is found inside. Once you change your mindset, then you have an abundance mindset. Nothing changed in reality, right? And what we know, and I love this about real estate, Yona, I think you'll echo this. I know you live this, is that real estate is an abundance mentality, right? If I give to you, I actually open a door for you. The door that's open for me is bigger, right? And by doing that, what we're doing is we're raising the tide. A rising tide raises the water for ships of all sizes. Right. Fact.
Absolutely. Awesome. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into the Final Four. It's awesome.
Is that a reference to the University of Michigan Fab Four or Final Four, or is that just?
Yeah, well, originally I came up with it, when I started the podcast, it was right at the beginning of the pandemic starting. It was like, there's no more NCAA finals going on, right? We got to do something about this. No, it's 4 questions, just to find a catchword.
I bet Barry liked that, yeah?
Yeah, Barry actually did like that. Fab Five, I was a big fan of them, actually.
I knew you would be.
In high school.
Oh, my gosh. Me too. I played high school basketball against, who was it from the Fab Five? Oh, my gosh. Remember Shane Battier? He was actually at Country Day, but there was also, name me the names.
Oh, Chris
Jalen
Webber.
Rose. Chris Webber.
Rose.
Chris Webber, yes. Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard. Oh, man.
Yeah, I remember the other guys.
Anyway, you're oh, gosh. Blast from the past, baby.
Crazy. So Final Four, first question we ask every guest over here is, what's the worst job that you ever had?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I hope my bosses aren't watching this. The worst job, I've loved every job I've had, honestly. The worst job I ever had. Gee, wow. I would have to say that, I got it. Living in Israel, needed to make some money. I was studying different parts of Jewish law. And in the evenings, I was working for a fund that was selling research to big companies like Guggenheim and like these huge companies that had hundreds of millions of dollars of assets under management. And I was selling this like theoretical research model for them. So I would have to cold call starting at like 7:00 at night, back in America, till like midnight or 1 a.m. And I was selling something I didn't know much about, which is really hard as a sales guy. And I was selling to people that didn't want to talk to me. And it was just like, I closed some sales, but it was really hard because most people do a technical analysis, and this was very fundamental. So, and the guy was like a little bit kooky that did the research. I'm not going to say any names. It was fun. I met some cool people, but that was the most difficult job I've ever had.
Okay. What's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
So many books. I think that Think and Grow Rich is life transformative for so many reasons. Honestly, I think that Pia Mellody writes some incredible books. She has a book on codependence that is fantastic. Maybe I should read it for my flipping addiction. But basically, that's a really great one. What's another really great one? Really, really great one. Oh, here we go. My gosh. Gary Keller and Jay Papasan have a book called The One Thing.
Yeah.
Wendy Patton, who's a huge mentor of mine, told me how to read it. Life transformative. That's an easy read. It's tiny. Game changing. That's a good one.
Okay, awesome. So the one thing we'll put that in.
And Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich for sure.
That's a classic.
There's so many principles in Think and Grow Rich that is like, they are. I mean, for me, just from what I know in the Jewish philosophy and things like that, it's just so on par with things that are just so self-evident. But if you don't know it already, it's very eye-opening.
And you need to do Chazara. You need to review it.
Yeah, you need to review. Always reviewing. Number 3, third question is, what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
So organization was my Achilles heel. That was my weakest point. I've spent the last 4 years really getting better at that. So I would say I'd like to improve that. Skill or talent that I'd like to acquire or develop, I would say would be delegation. The ability to delegate to team builders who will then recruit and build. The ability to train captains of ships, not just passengers of ships. That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. To grow any business, grow any team, that's integral. So can I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely, of course.
Have you seen that interview? I posted it. It's a quick 55-second interview. Alex Rodriguez posted an interview he had with Kobe Bryant of blessed memory. And he talked about the difference between being an all-star basketball player and being a business owner. And he kind of broke it down to like an all-star basketball player. I don't know. Did you see that interview? You got to watch it.
I didn't see that.
It was amazing. All-star basketball player focuses on being a performer and being the best at his job. A business owner does not do that. He focuses on being a general manager. He focuses on finding all the components of the people that make a team, and each of those people is the best at their specific job. I thought that was cool.
Right. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So 4th and final question, Dan, what does success mean to you?
Smiling. That's it. Just being authentic, being connected, being happy, being present. That's it. Being real. The ability to be real at all times.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, catching up, and we got to cut this episode to bring it to a close. So I just want to thank you. Appreciate your time.
Wish I could give you a hug, man.
Do a virtual hug there.
Yeah, virtual hug. I love you, man. It's great to see you. You're the best, man. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Keep rocking it, and looking forward to see great things from you in the future. And to our listeners, thanks again for tuning in. And remember, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.